Welcome to MSU Magazine, where we bring you original segments produced by talented media students right here from Morehead State University. I'm your host, Kylie Pollitt. On today's episode, we'll race into Women in Action with Mai Kinchin and her guest, Glorious Clark. After that, we'll have a spine-tingling review from Ashton Culp and Maya McIntosh on genres with Gen Zs as they review the cult classic, Donnie Darko. Let's leap into Women in Action.
Hi, my name is Mayumi, and welcome back to Women in Action. Today we have Glorious Clark. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Glad to have you back on Women in Action.
Yes.
So, let's get down to nitty-gritty. Do you think that the sports media have an effect on women's sports, or just women in general?
I think in general, because I feel like as long as it took for like women to get into like basketball with the WNBA and stuff, I feel like even then it's like, okay, women can play basketball and be official, but people will still look at them like they're not like the guys. Like they're not like, they look at them as a little bit still less than.
Yeah.
And like the views are different.
Yeah, they see like women athletes as women first and then second athletes. So I think that has a major part in it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The main thing in women's sports are the stereotypes. In what ways do you think that they're being viewed less than?
I think some ways that women are viewed less than are when it comes to sponsorships, the amount of fans that come to the games. I think even just the amount of coverage, just from filming and advertising. I think obviously with pay as well. I mean, I found out that like LeBron James made like $5 million one year or $3 million, and I was just like, I've never heard of an NBA woman making that much, so that was wild to me. I think some other ways are just in how they're treated with respect. I feel like you tend to see more women announcers when it comes to the WNBA, and I feel like that's cool, but then I also feel like, why aren't there men as well? Because, you know, usually it's just men for the NBA, so I feel it's that way too.
In women's sports, you know, stereotypes not only in the sport itself, but like the individuality of the woman itself. Like women in sports, the media, and like maybe other people view them as like they are either gay, they're too delicate, they play like a girl, tomboyish, and I think that because they are viewed that way, it makes them want to drop out of their particular sport that they're in. So stereotypes really play a big role in it, and I think that once they take out the stereotypes, things will get a little bit easier and a little bit better for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I know you don't do sports anymore, but when you did do sports, what does it mean to be a woman in sports?
It just meant that I could have fun just like the boys. And I could just have a great time with others, like get some energy out and just honestly do what everyone else would do, even if it's not in a professional setting. And I just feel like an equal in that sense.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to young women who are looking to be in the sports industry, or young women who are playing sports?
I feel like honestly, where this is a man's world, you just have to, you gotta be strong-willed. I think you have to be very courageous, and you can't let nobody get under your skin, because you know there are like motives as to why people may look down on you, and it has to do with inequality and just, I think honestly it's just you have to just be courageous and like believe in who you are and know that you can do the exact same thing a man can do. Well, that's all we have time for today. This is Women in Action. Thank you for coming out.
No problem. It's nice to be here.
Glad.
MSU's Breckenridge Hall is home to the Convergent Media major, where you take CVM practicum courses with either MSU TV, the campus online newspaper The Trailblazer, or maybe get on the radio with Morehead State Public Radio. While working for MSU TV, you'll get the chance to help others produce content for the university or produce your own. At The Trailblazer, you become a journalist and find news stories to publish. You can even work on your skills as a multimedia editor. To join a practicum, contact the faculty advisors Tim Creekmore or John Flavel.
Wow, what a great segment. It was good to see Glorious Clark back on our show. Mai and Glorious always manage to bring awareness to serious issues in advertising and sports broadcasting. Mai is hitting nothing but net with Women in Action. Next up, Ash and Maya will have you seeing things as they review the dark comedic teen horror, Donnie Darko.
Why are you wearing that stupid bunny suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Take it off. Donnie Darko is the story of a not-so-typical high school boy who suffers from schizophrenic-type visions and episodes. He is met by a rabbit named Frank and told he has 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds before the world ends, and is instructed on destructive ways he can stop it. So if you haven't guessed it yet, the movie we've decided to talk about today is one of my favorite cult classic films that inspired me to want to make films, Donnie Darko. If anything, this movie is a wonderful representation of the horror genre, thriller genre, whatever you want to call it. The freaky Frank imagery, because there are multiple scenes that the first few times I watched this genuinely freaked me out. And this was when I was first getting into horror movies, too. It's also really good at foreshadowing later events, which is a very common trope with horror films and whatnot, kind of foreshadowing what happens to the characters, or foreshadowing like how exactly the jet engine fell into Donnie's room in the first place. The cinematography is also amazing, and I think it conveys really well how the characters feel and react in certain situations, like the weird camera spirals and things.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Donnie's kind of like schizophrenia moments, where, especially in the hallway, where the camera does almost like a complete 360.
Oh yeah.
That, I feel like that perfectly represented the emotion, and I mean, the movie did really well with that. A lot of movies, especially in the early 2000s, or late 1980s, 90s, a lot of times when someone has mental illness, it's something like Split, where
they're stored away
where they're
from society.
Yeah, they're like completely evil. They're like, they can't be saved, or they're completely innocent and have fallen victim to this mental illness. Again, like Split, where he's seen as, one part of him is seen as completely innocent, the other as completely evil. It's not like there's some complication there.
Donnie is not a black and white character, basically.
No, and I mean, they also hint to that with the fear and love thing. With fear, let's say, being black, and love being white.
Fear and love.
And, yeah, and Donnie is kind of like, hey, no, nothing is like that. And it works perfectly for his character, because
it helps convey the message, because he does a lot of bad things, but not all of them. Like, he does both good and bad things. In a sense, like burning down Patrick Swayze's character's house. Though he should not have done that, it did end up revealing what he was hiding, which was the secret ring of kitty porn dungeon, apparently, which is a lovely way of wording things. As well as flooding the school, because if he hadn't flooded the school, he wouldn't have gotten to know Gretchen and started that relationship, which in a sense could also be a bad thing, because it's kind of his fault she dies in the end.
just a little bit.
Spoilers. But something else I would have to say that really helps set this atmosphere is the soundtrack. The soundtrack has some amazing classic songs, some of which have become meme songs. We ignore that because it sounds amazing. Maya, hush. But I absolutely love the soundtrack and how well it depicts the sequence of events that we see. Something else really great, I would say, is how time travel is kind of viewed throughout this. Like, it's something that is not transcended as, like, it's different than most other time travel films I think I've seen.
It's not like something like Back to the Future,
Even though they reference Back to the Future.
Yeah, or something like Doctor Who, where it has to be a specific, like, I mean, they do say, like, it could be, like, a spaceship or something.
It's
that
entirely
creates the
dependent
wormhole.
on the wormhole and where the wormhole decides to appear. You
Yeah.
can't control that.
But it's also saying, like, humans play a part in the future aspect. It's not just, like, something you have to create. It's something that also, like, remains within just the normal world.
Exactly. But overall, I think this movie is a wonderful representation of the horror genre, as well as just a great movie to watch in general. Like I said, it's one of my biggest inspirations to want to make films in the future, because it's the first film that made me really think deeper about film. I mean, hey, I went by Donnie for years. Gee, I wonder why.
And, I mean, even with how old the movie was, it was released in 2001, it still is a really good representation of something that could happen in real life. It's not completely fictional or completely, this person's evil.
I mean, not everybody's gonna see a man in a bunny suit telling them they have 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds left before the world ends, but a lot of people who suffer from mental illness similar to schizophrenia have issues of seeing things and whatnot. You know, they can't help that, but if anything, I'm actually gonna leave a number here for mental health hotline, so if any of you are suffering from any serious mental illness, like, I love that Donnie Darko shows that it's not a joke. But, thank you for watching. See you guys later, I guess.
Yep, take care of yourselves. This has been Maya.
And this has been Ash. This is not our outro.
No, it's not.
You've got to finish those assignments you've procrastinated. It sounds like you need to go somewhere to focus. Come to the computer lab in Breckenridge Hall 334 and get to work. Use the Mac computers to your advantage and stay on track. You'll have access to all the Adobe programs you need, including Premiere, Audition, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, and more. Within the lab's hours, you're always welcome. Don't fall behind. Stop by the computer lab today in Breckenridge 334.
Wow, Ash and Maya really avoided crashing hard and soared high with that segment. Keep your hoods up and eyes peeled for the next installment of MSU Magazine to see what our talented creators have lurking behind the scenes. If you've missed our past installments, check in with msutv.net to get caught up. From all of us here at MSU Magazine, we wish you a spectacular Halloween, and we'll see you next time.